All right, so between now and our next break, which will be right around 10 o'clock, I'm going to finish up this chapter. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to talk, because they only give you about 3 or 4 pages in here right now on CSS, so it's a very limited introduction. So I'm going to go over that. But then what I'm going to do is we're going to get on, and I'm going to have you create something, but I'm going to show you a couple different ways to create it. And what I'm going to do is in the book, they say, this is how you do this, this is how you do this, but it's in a different editor that we're using. But to make sure that I'm not missing anything, I'm going to use their stuff, but for our editor. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. All right. So the next thing that's discussed in here is CSS. Now, I do want to mention something to you. I want to show you this. I'll show it to you right now. That the way that we're going to set up our websites is like this. You're typically going to come in. You can do this 2 ways. So I'm going to show you both ways right now. So I'm going to assume right now that we're going to make a website that's going to have 3 pages in it. Just for simplicity's sake. It'll have a home page, an about page, and a contact page. You all with me? And we'll have one CSS file that we will use for all 3 pages, and eventually one JavaScript file. Okay? And like I said, there's nothing special to this, but I'm just going to say, all right, so I'm going to come in here, I'm going to right mouse click, I'm going to choose new, and I'm going to choose folder, and it gives us new folder, which you wouldn't want to use that. But let's just say we're just going to call this, for lack of better words, website 01. All right, you with me? So that's what we've got. So I've got website 01. Now, if I want to, once I've created this, I can double click in here, and I can come in and do the following. So I can come in here, I can right mouse click, I can choose new folder, and then I'm going to make a folder, 2 of them, one called CSS, and then I'm going to make another one, and I'm going to call it JS. The CSS will hold my cascading style sheets file. My JS will hold my JavaScript file. All right. Then I can come in here and I can do this. If you look up on the screen here, I'm going to right mouse click and choose new, and I'm going to go down to text document, and I'm going to highlight the whole thing, and I'm going to type in here index.html. When I hit enter, look on the screen, it's going to beep, and it's going to say, hey, you're changing the extension. Do you want to do that? I do. So I click yes. So now I've got my index.html file. I can go in and create another file. I can right mouse click and do a new, and I can put in another file. And in the same way, now I'm going to put in styles.css, and I hit enter, and again, it shows me here and it says, hey, you sure you want to change that extension? Yes. Notice it's kind of hard to see, but the little favicons here are different. That's the one for an HTML, that's the one for a CSS. Now, and don't worry, because I'm going to show you a better way of doing this in just a second. But this is the way some people choose to do it, okay? Now I can take this file and I can drag it right into my CSS folder and let go. Now I've got that set up. Now I'm going to right mouse click and do it one more time, new text document, and I'm just going to call this script.js. Not maybe the best name, but it's what I'm going to use. All right. So do I want to change it? Yes. That's got a little J right here, and now I'm going to put that up here. So now I've created a very simple website setup where right now there's just one file. You'd say, what about the other 2? We'll worry about that in a bit. But we've got one HTML file in there. Then we've got a JavaScript or a JS directory with our JavaScript file in. Notice if I double click, there it is. And I've got a CSS folder, and notice in there, that's that file. Everybody with me on how to do that? Well, let's talk about how we could do that maybe a little bit easier. All right. So I've got my website 01 right here. I'm going to come in. I'm going to show you this. I'd like you to kind of mimic and do it with me. So I'm going to right mouse click on my desktop. I'm going to choose new and folder. I'm right mouse clicking. If you're not going to save your stuff on your desktop, if you've got a special place, on your machine where you save this, then go there. It's not a problem. But I'm just going to assume you're going to save stuff right onto your desktop. So I'm going to come here. I right mouse clicked and choose new folder, and I'm just going to call this one website 02 because I want to be able to keep my website 01 there. You with me? All right. Now, then I hit enter. Now it's there. Now, if I'm not going to do this, so don't do what I'm about to tell you, but I could take this one that I've already created. I could right mouse click on it and choose open with code. There it is. And you'll notice it's got my CSS folder with my file in it. It's got my JS folder with my file in it. It's all there. It's not a problem. Everything's good. But I can also build it right inside of Visual Studio Code. That's what most people do. You don't have to do it that way. If you were comfortable with the way I just did it, by all means, do it that way. All right. So now I'm going to right mouse click on this new folder I just created called Website02, and I'm going to choose open with code. And guess what? There's nothing in there. That should make sense. There's just the folder, right? Okay, but if I put my mouse over the folder name like this, notice I get these icons. And the second icon over to the right says new folder. Everybody see where I am? So I'm going to choose that one. And I'm going to put in there CSS and hit enter. Now I've created a new folder called CSS. You say you did it too fast, I'm going to create the other one now so you can see it. I'm going to again click right here, click on new folder, and I'm going to make JS and hit enter. You'll notice it automatically alphabetizes them. See that? Now, if I did this, please look up on the screen here for a minute because I'm going to do this wrong on purpose. I want to put my styles.css file in here. Does that make sense? But let's say I didn't do that. So I click up here. Now I type in styles.css. And guess what? It ain't in there. So I can right mouse click on it. And there is a way to move it in here like that. I don't even remember what it is. I can take it and drag it up into here. See what I'm doing? Did you notice? It says, do I want to move this? And if I click move, okay, I didn't, I guess. But if I click there, I find this doesn't always work. There it did. See that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this file, and I'm going to show you the way most people do it then. I have two folders. You can all see that. If I click on the CSS, see the arrow right here? Watch when I click on it. See that? See how it changes? So now that it's got the arrow pointing to the right, now I'm going to go and I'm going to say new file, and I'm going to type in styles.css and hit enter. Now it's underneath that folder. And if I did it too fast, I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to click where it says JS. Watch when I click, the arrow instead of pointing down will point to the right. So I'm just going to click on where it says JS. There the arrow changed. So now I'm going to click here on my first icon for new file. And I'm going to put in scripts.js. Now what I've done is I've created two folders, a CSS folder, and I created a CSS file underneath it, and a JavaScript folder with a JS file underneath it. I can click on them at any time to show them, and I can click on it again to make it disappear, for lack of better words. Now, I want to create one more file, that index.html. Remember that? I don't want to do it in here, so I don't want to click in here and do it. What I usually do is I click off. I just click in an empty spot like this, and both of these are now facing downwards. Now I'm going to click here and choose new file, and I'm going to put in index.html. Now, why did I go to all that trouble? Because I want to show you that if I jump back here, and here's my website 01, and here's my website 02, right? So here's 01. You can see exactly what it looks like here. There it is. All right, so that's 01. And look, there's 02. They are exactly the same thing, except one has got the name of the outside folder is website 01, and one is website 02. Now, whichever way you are most comfortable creating your setup like this is what you should use. I just showed you a couple ways. I'm sure there's plenty of other ways you can do it as well. So if you know another way of doing it and you're more comfortable doing it that way, then that's the way you should do it. All right. Any questions? Yes.
So if we do the first way, I was trying to do the first way on site 01.
Yeah.
Text document.
Yes.
I didn't get a pop-up box to say.
Okay, then let's go back and do that. I'm going to remove this one, and we'll go back and we'll recreate it. Okay.
This turned out to be a
Okay.
text document.
No, that's fine. So we've got this one. So did anyone have any problems with the one we just did together? It worked okay? All right, let's go back and look at the first one then. So again, I'm going to right mouse click, choose new, choose folder, and go back to the old website 01. Okay? And now there's just an empty folder with nothing inside. So if I double click on that website 01 folder, if you want to follow along and do it this way, feel free. All right. Now, if I double click on that, it's empty. You can see there's nothing in there. It even says the folder is empty. So now I right mouse click inside of there and I choose new again and folder. And of course it calls it new folder. And I'm going to type in CSS. And if I hit enter and I hit enter again, it now opened up that CSS folder. All right. Now if I right mouse click in here and choose new and go down almost all the way down to text document, it tries to make a file for me called new text document.txt. I don't want that. I don't want it to have any of that. So I highlight the whole thing and I type in the name I want it to have, which is styles.css. I hit enter. It beeps at me and it says, hey, I'm warning you, I'm about to change the file extension from .txt to something else. Is that okay? It is, so I click yes. So now I've got that one. Then I back up again by just hitting my back arrow button, and I come in here and create another folder the same way. So I right mouse click on an empty spot in the desk on the folder here, choose new, again choose folder, and this one I'm going to call JS. Put that in, hit enter a couple times. Now I'm inside of the JS folder. Again, I'm going to right mouse click in here, choose new, choose text document, and this one we said we were going to call scripts.js. Hit enter, answer yes. Now I've got those two done. I've got those two folders now. I want to do one more file and I don't want it to be in either one of these. So I'm going to find a blank space here on my website 01 folder, right mouse click, choose new, go down to text document, change the name to index.html, hit enter, answer yes, and that's it. Did that help? Nick, does it make sense now?
It makes sense.
Okay, I'll tell you what then. What we'll do is
I'm having the same issue. I'm not getting them all.
So I'm doing everything that you're doing.
okay.
But it's keeping the text document. It's not converting it to.
Okay, what you have to do when you do this, and I'll take your question or suggestion in a second. So let's say I want to make another one here. All right, I'm going to make a scripts2.js. When you right mouse click and you choose new and you choose text document, you've got to make sure you highlight all of it, especially the .txt part.
There's no .txt.
Okay, then we'll look at that in just a minute, because then you'll have to, what's happening then is you will have to change it so that it shows your extensions at all times. All right, yeah, that's what it is. All right, so we would come in here, and again, we would just change it. Now, to do that, let's see. I think you can do it from control panel. So type in control panel. I might not like it from there. Let's see. How to show file extensions in Windows 10. That's what we want. All right, open File Explorer. So to open File Explorer, you all should have a folder down here. All right, should be able to right mouse click on it. Oh, what is File Explorer? I always forget. I'm sorry. Actually, we probably can come in here and type in File Explorer and hit enter. There you go. So there's File Explorer. So open File Explorer. If you do not have an icon for this, click Start, Windows System, and then File Explorer. Do what I did, either way. All right, then click the View tab in the File Explorer. Last one right here, the View tab. All right. It says click the box next to the file name extensions to see file extensions. Well, there's file name extensions right there. You've already got it clicked, or mine is clicked. Yours may or may not be checked. If it is not checked, check it. All right.
And then you just go back and delete the .txt.
Yes. But it says click the box next to hidden items to show hidden files. In fact, let's look at the whole thing that they show in here. So this site that's right here, and I'm going to make this bigger so you can all see it. Not that big. So if you go out to right here, they've got like a pictorial version of how to do this. All right. But the point is, in here, yeah, there will be something with file name extensions. You want that to be checked. Then it should show your extensions. All right. Now, what's interesting about that is normally on most newer machines, that's automatically set for you. But I'm actually glad it happened because, and I appreciate you speaking up. Is that what you were going to say, James? Okay. Should have just asked you. You could probably told us a lot faster. All right. Did that work?
Yep. So, and then you just delete the txt.
Yes.
The name of the file.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the other thing I want to show you about this, and this is not a big thing, but it's important that at least you see this. All right. I'm going to come back to what we're working on here, which is this one right here. I don't want you to do this, but I want you to watch this. Okay, you with me? I want you to watch this. So if I were to come in here and say that I wanted to create a new file like that, and I typed it in, an advantage of doing it inside of this editor is it expects you to put the right extension in. You see what I'm saying? But if we do it the other way, you already saw the problems that you can get with that. Now, one way that you can get around things like that, so I'm going to get out of here for a second, but let's just say that I was creating, I'm going to come into here. This is another editor. So I'm going to come into this editor here, and I want to come in here, and this is just some junk. All right, so I want to save this now. So I do a file, and I do a save. All right, notice in here, it automatically saves it as a normal text file. You see that? Right there. So even yours may or may not say this, I could actually leave that off, and it would save it as new10.txt. So I can go in here, if I want to do this, I can click the down arrow. If I want to save it as an HTML file, I can go choose that. All right. The other thing that I can do, and most books don't mention this, is if I want to force it to happen, I can save it inside of double quotes. You need double quote at the beginning and at the end. Then, so I just put in there index hello.html in double quotes. Then it'll always save it whatever extension you put it in. All right. But I'm glad that happened. That isn't exactly why I wanted to show it to you that way. But you can see there are advantages to doing this and actually doing it in the, inside of the editor itself. All right. So are we all clear now? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's come in here. So we're in this new thing that we're working with right here. Let's go into our index.html file. All right. Now, all of you should be able to do this. If you click right at the beginning of line 1, I'm assuming you all loaded Visual Studio Code now. And you hold down on Shift and hit the number 1. That is going to invoke Emmet. And if you hit the Tab key now we've got this. So all I did was I went into the document. I'll remove it and do it again. I went into the blank document. I clicked at the beginning of it, held down on the Shift key, tapped the number 1 on not on my keypad, but on the keys up above, and hit Tab after I put this in. All right. You'll also see if I do this again, I can put in 3. And then all it does is it puts in the doc type. So if you wanted to manually do it yourself, you'd be able to do that. Okay? But I don't want to go to all that trouble. So I've got this. Now we've already talked about what's in the head. We've talked about what's in the body, right? All right. So let's come in here. Let's go into the body section. Let's go into the body section right now. Let's put in an H1 tag and a paragraph. All right, just so we got something to work with. So I'm going to put in an H1 here. And remember, look on the screen. A couple ways I can do this. I can just put in less than sign H1, greater than sign, and it ends it for me, which is fine. Or I can just type in H1 and hit tab, and it does the same thing. You're going to learn these shortcuts, and it's whatever way works for you. If you say, I don't want to use them, period, then don't use them. All right? So we'll just say this, welcome to my website. That's all we're going to put in there for our H1 tag. Then underneath that, we're going to put in a paragraph tag. You can type it all in the same line. I like to break it up because paragraphs oftentimes are very long. You don't have to. You can do it either way. All right, I'm going to say, hello, my name is, you can put in your own name. Welcome to my website. All right, that's all we're putting in right now is just that. Question?
I was kind of slow to getting the coder open.
Okay.
After doc type, you said that you hit tab and it's supposed to.
You put in the exclamation point, then hit tab.
You hit exclamation.
On line 1, there should be, the document should be empty. And you hit it, put an exclamation point and hit tab, and then you put it in.
That's not working for me.
Then for some reason your Emmet must be turned off.
Is it a mix file? I had that problem earlier yesterday.
What we can do is, what I do is just Google it, because I haven't had that happen before, so I don't know what the problem is. Let's see. So Emmet now working in VS Code. Well, I spelled it wrong. Okay. Why is Emmet not working in VS Code? Check whether it's set properly or whether your settings are enabled correctly. You need Emmet expanded abbreviations. Okay. So what we can do is, one of these that's in here is our settings, and it'll open up, well, where is it? File, edit, come on, selection, somewhere in here. The what?
The gear shift.
The gear shift? Yeah. All right, so you click down here under this gear shift, and then you choose settings up here. All right, and search settings. There is one for Emmet. Let's see, an array, yeah. Extensions path, add item. So we can take a look at it, but something in here, this Emmet show expanded abbreviations, if you go down almost all the way, yours may say never.
It says always.
Oh, all right. Show suggestions and snippets, no. Because I've had that happen before. So let's see, edit and settings.json. Shouldn't be anything in there. I'll tell you what, I don't want to put you off, but we'll look at it during the break. Okay, I'm not sure what the problem is. Okay, all right, but even, just so you know, your document wouldn't validate, but even if you just start right here and start putting that stuff in like that, and you leave the top stuff off, it's not going to hurt anything. It won't validate correctly, but it'll still work just fine. All right. Now, time to come in, and I'm going to take for granted you haven't done this, so if you have, just skip it. Just tune me out for a minute. But I want you to go over to the thing that's about in the middle there. See where it says extensions? Can everybody see that? I showed you this yesterday because I've already got this loaded. I want you to click right there, and in here, in the box that comes up, type in 2 words, live space server, unless you've already put that in. All right. you'll know, because notice if I put in live server, just like this, and I hit enter, there's live server, but I don't get a thing there, a button like this with an install there. See what I'm talking about? If you have not installed it yet, you'll have a button there. Just click the button and it will install it. That's it. Now to show you, because I don't want to leave anybody hanging, but if you look on the screen, I'm going to grab this live share. I'm going to remove it right away, but I'm going to say I want it, let's pretend this was live server. So I'm going to click right there, and you notice it says installing, and there it's done. Now sometimes when it does this, what'll happen is it'll say that it wants you to restart Visual Studio Code. Literally, it restarts like that. Then just press that button. I don't really want this live share, so now I'm going to click uninstall. And it's gone. All right. Now it says reload required. Okay, I'll reload it. That's it. That was it. It's reloaded now. Everybody with me in what we just said? Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I could tell you this till, as the saying goes, till I'm blue in the face, and you're still going to screw it up occasionally. I do. That is, if you want to open up live server, it must be opened up on an HTML file. You're going to try to open it up on your JavaScript files. You're going to try to open it up on your CSS files, because we all do. All right? It's just human nature. But if you're right here now, let's do a file save. So I click File up here, and I click Save. You can also do a Control S, whatever is easiest for you. Then find an empty spot here on your web page, right mouse click, and choose Open with Live Server. So find an empty spot on your web page, right mouse click, and choose Open with Live Server, and that's what you should have. Yours will probably be smaller because, again, I blew up the size of my font here so everybody can see it. Now, there's not much in here, but I just wanted you to get used to start doing some stuff. The first thing, so you see this, we talked about this yesterday. This is my running website, right? I can, if I want to, right mouse click on here and choose View Page Source, and it shows me everything that's in there. All right, it opens it up in a new tab. You don't have to do that. I just wanted to show it to you. All right. Second thing, look in your address bar. Yours should say 127.0.0.1, and mine's got colon 5500. You might have a different number after the colon. It doesn't matter. 127.0.0.1 is what's known as a loopback address. It's your machine. The colon 5500, that's the port number that, that's got assigned to be used on here. Even if yours says 5500, you might get out and bring it up again and it might choose a different port. Or you might have something different than mine now. It doesn't matter. It's just where it's choosing to run the software. Does that make sense? Now I want to show you what's cool about using live server. You may have noticed this yesterday, you may not have. Don't close live server. Don't close it. But go back to your document. All right. Oops. And I don't know, just add something. So welcome to my website. I'm just going to hit enter here and I'm going to say, I hope that you enjoy it. It doesn't matter what you put in here. Okay, but something like that. And then save. So do a Control S or a file save. Now go back into here and you notice that with live server, it immediately updated my page. If we do it the other way, where I have to, one way I could do it, just so you see this, one other way I could do it is I could come into my website. I don't even know which one I used. I guess it was this one. But I could come into this one right here and double click on it, and it does the same thing. But then every time I make a change, I've got to click the refresh button, which is right there. Now, is that a pain? No. But it's nice to know that using live server, it automatically updates, and it gives me the most up-to-date version. Okay? Not only that, just so you see this, what some people like to do is they like to go and split their screen and put that over here and then come up and over here. So I'm going to cut that down too. So they've got both of them showing here. There. And you can go back and forth. So doing it like this, I'll just say bye for now as an example. And when I save, thought I saved. No, I'm not sure why it's not showing it. Oh, because I don't have the live server one up. I've got the other one up. There's the live server one. Bye for now. See, I meant to show you how cool that was, and I didn't. So I said bye. All right, save. And there it is. Now, I don't care how you do this. I want it to work for you. I want it to work as easily as possible for you. All right? Anybody have any problems with that? Then let's go in, and for now at least, I'm just going to not close this, but I'm going to minimize it. I'm going to go and I want you to open up your styles.css file. All right? So open up your style. We're going to put in 3 things so you see them, okay? So I'm going to come in, first of all, I'm going to say body, background, choose a color. Choose a color. If there's a color you like, great. I'll choose green. You don't have to choose green. Choose whatever you want. All right? And we'll say color, and I'll put in gold. All right? So we've got those 2 things in there. You'll notice, what you should notice, and again, I don't know if you will based on yours or not, but it should bring up the color. Now, there's about 5 or 6 different ways that you can do colors. Did you all hear me? And you will get to learn them very quickly. All right? But I want to do one more thing here. Okay? So far I've got body, background, green, color, gold. That's what I've got in here. I've also got a thing called, yours may not be this color. I've got a thing that's called bracket colorizer on mine. That's another extension that you can load. But you don't have to yet. Okay? Now, what I want to do though is my H1 tag, I want that to look different. So right now the background is going to be green and my color of my text is going to be yellow or gold. Yes.
I'm not getting the background, like it's not pulling up any of the colors for me. It's just,
I think you said that was an extension.
No, you should, that should be built into here.
That never happened to me, ever.
You never got the colors to come up or what?
I don't the color box like you got.
Oh, okay. Well, we're having, what's that?
I put a bracket, so you put.
So this should look like this. I want to make sure, because I know, especially back there for you, Nick, this should look like this. Body, then a curly brace.
Okay.
Then background.
Okay.
And again, I use green. You can put in any color you want. And color, these should all be in lowercase. Color, gold. And then another curly brace.
I was missing the brackets. That was my fault.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked like
Yeah.
I should know.
So we're going to make one more. We're going to say that we want our, just so it looks a lot different, we're going to go and we're going to say for our H1 tag, we're going to do the same kind of thing, but we're going to say background, purple, background. I'm going to make it purple so it really stands out. And I'm going to say color white. All right. After you do that, again, either do a Control S or do a file save. Do one or the other. Okay? So either do a Control S, which is what I just did. All right? Now, look on the screen. Even if you're still typing, please look on the screen. Notice if I right mouse click, I'm in my CSS file. it doesn't show me Open Live Server. I've got to jump back into my HTML file, right mouse click. Now, I didn't jump back into it. It's also still up here, right? So, what, did I put my link line in? Let's see. I didn't. So we've got to come in here. Well, look, that's, what do they call it? A teaching moment? Didn't work. Still looks the same. Why? Because I didn't link to that file. So I've got to put that in. So let's put that in. So right under the title, but still inside of the head section, type in the word link and hit your tab key. Now, I am supposing you use the same names that I used. Did you hear me? So if you use different names, you'll have to change yours accordingly. But this says the relationship is, it's a style sheet. Where it is the hypertext reference. And it is in my folder called CSS, then a /, that's the one right next to your shift key on the right. Don't put a backslash in. It won't work. So /, and then notice I can either manually type it, or since it found it for me, I can just hit the tab key. Again, do what's easiest for you. And again, Control S to save. Now when I go back and look at my document, there it is. Now, it's ugly as hell, but that isn't the point. What you have learned right now is how to create your first HTML document and how to add CSS to it. And guess what? We're going to do one more thing. You're all advanced people. So we're even going to do something that we're not actually going to talk about for 4 or 5 weeks, because I want you to see JavaScript. All right? So, question? Okay. All right. So let's go back in here. And now we want to open up our JavaScript file. If you notice right now, my little Explorer area that's got all of my files and folders, it's not showing. So if I click on it, the first icon, it brings it back again. If I click on it again, and the only reason I'm showing you that is you get more area when you're typing. So you can turn it on and turn it off. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to find my scripts. If yours still looks like this, if you don't see it, then just click on that arrow so you get the down arrow, and we want to bring up scripts.js. Now, what we're going to do right now is kind of stupid, but just so you can see it. You with me? I just want you to be able to see it. When we do this, you're not going to see it because we'll have to include the file. Did you hear me? The same problem we just had with the CSS. But I want you to put in here just the word alert, not there. Click on the number 1, or after that, type in the word alert, and just say, hello world, something like that. It doesn't matter what you put in there. And put a semicolon at the end, even though it'll work fine without one. So that's alert and Nick, those are parens, not curlies. All right. So alert, hello world. Make sure the hello world is in double quotes. Single quotes would work as well. We'll talk about that later. And a semicolon at the end. Everybody has that? Yeah? All right. Control S to save. Now, if I go back into here and I refresh, nothing happened. Just like I had to let the system know that I have a CSS file, I have to let the system know I've got a JS file. So I'm going to do it in very similar the same way. It doesn't matter which one you put first. So I'm going back to index.html. And it's a different tag. It's a different tag. It's not a link tag. It's what's called a script tag. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in script, and I'm going to hit tab. Now, just like we did before, I'm going to say, but now it's not href equals, it's source equals js/, and there's my file. So this is what you want to put in there. That's how you add a JavaScript file. So it is line 9 that you see on the screen there. Get rid of this again.
So you put the source within the first script?
Yes, it has to be done like this. This tag here is just an ending tag. And I've had people ask before, well, why isn't there an ending tag for the link? I didn't make the rules. I just have to play by them. All right? But that's just the way they did it. So what I'm saying is, when this program runs, I want you to load in this script. It's in the JS folder, and it's called scripts.js. Does that all make sense? Now I'm going to do, again, come in and do a Control S to save, and I'm going to go back to here. And lo and behold, look what I've got. And notice it came up and it ran even before my page. As soon as I click OK, then my page loads. We'll talk about all that stuff later, but the point is, you have now seen all three facets of website design. All right? Now, because I don't want to miss anything that they might have put in the book, so let me jump back here. That's the formal terminology. H1 is called the selector because that's the type of tag, in this case, you're selecting. Inside of the curly braces, color is called the property, and navy is called the value. Once in a while, you may hear, instead of being called the property, it's called the key. Should be called the property all the time. All right? And they've got a bunch of examples here that are very similar to what we looked at. Don't worry about the UL, we're going to do that. The whole thing collectively is known as a style rule. And those are the different components. I'm not going to sit and read to you. All right? So it says how to code basic selectors. It's kind of what we just looked at. Now, I do want to show you something. Don't do this, but just watch. You with me? Don't do this, just watch. So I'm going to come back to my file here, and let's pretend for a second that I had a whole bunch of pages. You with me? That I had a whole bunch of pages in here. All right? So, I came in and I added a contact.html, an about.html, and a whole bunch of them. I could use this style sheet on all of those pages. But if I decided that just on this page right here, I wanted to just change something just on this page, then what I would do is I could come in and create what are called style tags. And I could do the same kind of thing. Watch what happens. I'm going to say, hey, my paragraph again. Now I want the color to be pink, which is going to be probably really ugly. But now I save. I go back into here. And you'll notice that it's pink. All right, why did I even show you that? Because the first way I showed you is the way you should try to always write your CSS, in an external file. But sometimes you may have a reason to put something in internally. All right, and notice I still got my hello world, so I really should remove that. But let's see. Yes, I did. That's what I want. Okay, and I'm going to finally just show you in here. I cheated and went out and grabbed something from the net, but I'm going to come in here and where I've got my hello right there. All right, this is kind of what I showed you before, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do this. I'm going to type in span, style, equal, font size. Don't worry about this. I'll explain whatever all of it means in just a second. 3 rem. All right, span. Now I don't need this one anymore. All right. Is it pretty obvious what I just did? That's called inline CSS. I only wanted to change one letter in here. So what I did, and this is considered bad practice, is I actually went in and put CSS right inside of my HTML element. All right. That's considered bad practice because you are mixing things. Your CSS should be in a CSS file, your HTML in an HTML file, your JavaScript in a JavaScript file. Does that make sense? But I've now shown you the 3 different types of CSS. All right, I don't like using that. I'd be lying if I say, yep, I've never used that. Sometimes you actually can come up with a really good justification for using that. All right. And once I remove this, it's going to go back and it's going to revert back to the way that it looked before. Now, you may have noticed I showed you 3 types, right? It's called cascading for a reason. And when it cascades, it goes from minor to major. The most minor is that inline, like that H that I put in there. So that takes precedence over the next one, which are style tags, which takes precedence over the next one, which is the external file. It has to be that way because if the external file took precedence, you could never do the other stuff. All right. And again, we'll get into all that stuff. All right. So let's kind of quickly, I'm going to go just for about 5 more minutes and we'll take another break. All right. There we are. All right. So that's all they gave. So this is how to work with brackets. So we're not going to do that. I've already shown you, hopefully you're cool with how to open and close folders inside of VS Code. Okay. Hopefully that made some sense to you. All right. This is how you do it in that editor. It's not really very different. Open and close and display files. We went through that. How to start a new file. Is everybody comfortable with that? You go into the directory that you want to be in. For whatever reason, whoever thought of this stuff said, we're going to put our CSS, in a CSS folder. We're going to put our JavaScript in a JS folder. We're going to put our HTML in nothing. Somebody came up with that. I had a student years ago, what she wanted to do, it bugged the hell out of her. She said, would you really mind if I made an HTML folder and put all my HTML files in there? If it really makes you that happy, go ahead and do it. All right, so she did. All right, so you know how to start all these new files. There's their extension manager, which is very similar to the extensions I've started to show you. You know how to edit a file. We're just about finished, but there was one more thing. Let's see, that I did want to show you in here. They have a split. I'm sure there's a split view in here also. To split, it's probably easier than the way I showed it to you. All right, I showed you the live server, so we previewed. All right, when we come back from the break, but there's one more thing I want to do before that. When we come back from the break, we're going to learn how to validate these files. That's the only thing that's left in here. I want to show you one more thing because people typically, you're like, oh, cool, this is what I wanted. All right, so what I want you to do is in here, little test for you, so to speak. We're going to come in and we're going to add a new folder. All right, and please make sure that your CSS and your JS are both pointing downwards. All right, because remember if it's pointing here, it's going to try to put the folder in there. We don't want that. So to make sure, I always click in the spot here, makes this blue, and I'm going to click the first one, which says, second one, which says new folder. And this one is going to be called images. Let's go out to the internet, let's grab an image, and let's learn how to put that onto our webpage. All right. Now, you've already seen this, so if you want to type this in, go ahead. Let's see. The Rankin Technical College, and I'll put this on a line by itself, a href equals u targets equals underscore blank. Now you should know, looking at that that's going to say the Rankin Technical College website, right? And the word website will be underlined. I just wanted to make sure that you all saw and you were able to put in your own hyperlink. And it'll open up in a new tab. You don't want it to say that if you want it to go to Google or whatever, then just do that. It's no biggie. All right, when you get done, you should be able to save it and then go back into here. I'll go right back to it, but you should be able to go back into here. There it is, the Rankin Technical College website. If I click on it, it goes there, and notice I'm still at my site. All right. So one more thing, like I said, let's go out to Google Images. You know, images.google.com. I'm going to show you places, other places you can go to get images any kind you want, and they're free and you can use them. We're just not going to do that right now. Let's just do this. All right, now we're going to take our next break. So what I'd like you to do is, again, go out on the internet. So I'm going to go to another tab here, and I'd like you to go out to images.google.com. Google Images. Put something in there you're interested in. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I was going to mention this to you yesterday when we were going through the having the demonstration or the PowerPoint reading for us yesterday. No joke. You can ask him if you don't believe me. Mr. Corrigan, it was either last semester or the one before, he had a student who was actually downloading porn onto the school's machines. All right. First of all, don't do that. Second of all, of course, don't do that. Third of all, if you're going to be that stupid and do that, don't do it on the school's machine. All right. But what I'm telling you is pick anything you want, but don't make it dirty. Okay. So I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to say puppies, because of course, as they say, everybody loves puppies. All right. If you say, well, I don't, that's fine. I'm going to pick a picture here. It doesn't matter which one it is. I'm going to grab this one of this puppy right here. I'm going to right mouse click on it, and I'm going to choose Save Image As. All right, so I went to Google Images. I put puppies into the search bar. I'm finding this one. I'm going to right mouse click on it and choose Save Image As. Now I've got to go back and tell it where to save it, right? So I've got to come in here, and I know it's on my desktop. And on my desktop, I've got this thing called Website 2. And in there, I've got a thing called Images, right? So I've done all that. Now it's going to call it download.jpg, which is, in my opinion, a crummy name. So I'm just going to change mine to puppy.jpg. JPG is joint photographic something, but it's a type of format. We're going to get into that in a later class. So I've now got that in there. All right, nothing magical will happen yet on my website. Well, I'll go back and do it again in just a second. But I want to put it in first, and all I'm going to do here is you don't even have to add a paragraph. I'm going to say here image img and hit tab. And notice it says source equals and alt equals. I typed in there img and I hit the tab key. And where is it? Well, it lives in my images folder, and it's puppy.jpg, right? So then we've got that. Alt is alternative text. If I'm blind and I've got a browser for the blind, this is what's going to be read to me. Always fill this in. So, picture of a puppy. And I want to show you how else this is used in just a minute. Okay? So, I've got that. Let me just make sure it's there, and then I'll come right back to the code. So there it is. Now I've got a puppy in there. All right. And don't worry about the size. You're going to learn using CSS how you can change the size of it. And I'm going to show you other ways that are not in your book that you can change the size of it. Now, Nick had a question. I don't want to go too far because I want to give you your break. But what I did was I went in again and I created the brand new images folder. Did anybody have any problem with that? All right. Then I went out to images.google.com right here. I typed in puppies. Again, you can put whatever you want in there. Doesn't matter. And I found this picture of the puppy. I right mouse clicked on it, and I chose Save Image As. Now, there's other ways you can do this. Let's say you did all that, and you're like, isn't there an easier way to do this? All right. Well, If I copy the link address, notice what it does. I want to show you this. It actually put it into right here. Kind of big, but if I click my home button, there it is. For the source, I can put that in as well. The advantage of doing that is now I don't have to load that in. The disadvantage is it won't work if I'm not connected to the internet. That make sense? So I could do it either way. Most people have an images folder and they put their images in. Did I answer your question? Okay. All right, it's 10:05. Let's go till 10:15. Let's take a break and then we'll pick it up there. We're going to quickly finish this chapter and we're going to go through chapter 3. Hopefully, if you think I'm going too fast, and you don't want to say it, then just send me an email. Say, hey, can you slow it down a little? It's funny. I taught website design for a week this summer as one of the classes for those middle schoolers, and I had some of them sending me messages. You can send them out there. We were using Zoom, and they were sending private messages. You're going way too fast. Then the next person was, can we please hurry the hell up? There's no way to make everybody happy. I watched a TV show once, and the guy on there said, true consensus is pissing everybody off equally. And when you think about it, it's kind of the truth. I still watch the old Law and Orders, and I still remember this one scene where the judge says, no, I'm not going to allow that. And the one attorney gets mad. And the other one is real happy. He goes, oh, don't you be happy. And he tells him, so then they're both upset. He goes, oh, you're both mad. I guess I made the right decision. All right. Okay, let's come back at 10:15 then.